It's quite an abrupt change in your life when something like this happens.
Extreme change. Your world crumbles, and you wonder, what am I going to do? How am I going to, move forward? How can I support my family, myself? For me, I've been very fortunate. I've been able to continue in my chosen line of work. Over the years, I've just noticed so many people are in nursing homes, and they just have no life. They have nothing to look forward to. I think it's such a tragedy. I think society needs to understand that you don't need legs to be productive.
Teddy Pendergrass was more than just a soul icon. He was a man who lived with questions that never got real answers. Despite all the fame, the sold-out shows, and the screaming fans, Teddy kept a part of his life locked away, a side he barely spoke about even when asked directly. There were whispers throughout his career, rumors, uncomfortable questions, moments he dodged or brushed off. People close to him said he struggled privately with something deeper than just the pressures of fame. Some even claimed he lived with fear, not of failure, but of the truth coming out. The truth that may explain why he always seemed guarded, why he never truly told his version of the story. But to understand what Teddy was hiding, we need to go back to where it all started.
Teddy was a big star. I know my family loved him. His music was always playing. You couldn't get any bigger than he was. And he was a very handsome man, I must say. He was very handsome.
Teddy Pendergrass was born in Philadelphia, a city that would become a big part of his identity. He was raised by his mother, Ida, a woman with strong faith who worked hard to provide for her son. From the beginning, Teddy's life revolved around the church. His mother was deeply religious, and she made sure Teddy was in church almost every day, 6 days a week to be exact. That's where Teddy's voice first made an impact. By the time he was just 2 years old, he was already singing solos in church. Music wasn't just a hobby. It was something he was born into. He also taught himself how to play the drums, and by the time he turned 10, he had become an ordained minister. That spiritual upbringing gave him structure, purpose, and a deep sense of self. It also shaped the emotional depth you could hear in every note he sang. His early life was filled with gospel music, sermons, and community. It gave him a sense of discipline and a deep understanding of how music could move people. That connection between soul and sound never left him, even when life started pulling him in different directions. But the church wouldn't be the only place Teddy's voice would shake hearts. It didn't take long for the streets to call, and life got complicated fast. As Teddy grew older, he started to drift from the structured life he knew. Like many young black men at the time, he was exposed to the harsh realities of street life in Philadelphia. In his teens, he found himself caught up in a situation that would stick with him for years. He was wrongly accused of a crime and ended up spending several months at a youth detention center. It was a tough experience, especially for a kid who came from such a strict and spiritual background. But even through that dark time, Teddy didn't let go of his passion for music. Once he got out, he started playing drums in local clubs. These weren't glamorous venues. They were gritty, smoky rooms where musicians had to earn every bit of applause. Teddy always wanted to sing, but in those early days, he took whatever gigs he could find behind a drum set. It was his way in. He was young, broke, and ambitious. He got a few chances here and there, but the music business hit hard early. He experienced betrayal from people he trusted, like one mentor who promised to help but ended up using Teddy's talent for his own gain. That kind of heartbreak stuck with him. But Teddy didn't stop. He kept showing up, kept performing, and kept dreaming. He knew his voice had power, and he was determined to make the world hear it. Even though Teddy faced rejection, betrayal, and poverty, he never stopped believing in his gift. And then, one night, fate stepped in. That moment came when Teddy met Harold Melvin, a respected figure in Philly's music scene. At the time, Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes were already known, but they were looking for fresh energy. Teddy was brought in as a drummer, but once Harold heard him sing, everything changed. It wasn't long before Teddy was moved up to lead vocalist, and when he took the mic, the group's sound transformed. His voice was deep, smooth, and filled with emotion. Songs started climbing the charts, and women especially couldn't get enough of him. Teddy wasn't just singing, he was commanding the stage. But behind the scenes, it wasn't all smooth. Harold Melvin still called the shots, and that led to problems. Teddy felt like he was doing the heavy lifting, but not getting the credit or control he deserved. Tensions started to rise. He wanted more than just fame. He wanted ownership, respect, and a say in his career. career. What happened next didn't just push Teddy's career forward, it shifted the entire R&B scene. But with success came tension. Teddy didn't just want the spotlight, he wanted respect. What happened next changed R&B history forever.
I tell people to you must consider other alternatives and look towards something other than you can do than what your legs can allow you to do, and to think productive and try to move beyond what society looks at you and makes people feel useless and helpless and hopeless. And you have to think positive, and that's the way I try to talk to people about.
After years of tension with Harold Melvin, Teddy Pendergrass made a tough decision. He left the Blue Notes. The breaking point came down to money and respect. Teddy was the voice that had taken the group to the top of the charts, but he wasn't seeing the financial rewards or creative control he deserved, so he walked away. But leaving wasn't easy. Behind the scenes, Teddy faced threats and pressure. There were people who didn't want him to succeed on his own, but Teddy wasn't about to back down. He had the voice, the look, and the determination. The world hadn't seen anything yet. He started building his solo career with help from someone close to him, his girlfriend at the time, Taz Lang. She wasn't just a romantic partner, she also took on the role of his manager. Together, they were a power duo. Teddy trusted her deeply, and they had big plans for his future, but that mix of love and business got messy fast. At one point, Teddy signed an agreement that locked Taz in for 10% of his future earnings for life. That decision would haunt him. The lines between personal and professional were blurred. People in his circle started questioning her role. Was she helping him grow, or was she helping herself? Teddy stayed quiet about it, but the tension was there. As Teddy's solo career skyrocketed, so did the pressure. And behind the scenes, the cracks were starting to show. In 1982, everything changed in a split second. Teddy was driving his Rolls-Royce through Philadelphia late at night when the car crashed into a tree. The accident left him paralyzed from the chest down. The shock was massive. Fans were devastated. Teddy was just 31 years old and at the height of his career. But the focus quickly shifted from the accident itself to the woman who was in the car with him, Tanika Watson. Tanika was a model, and later it came out that she was transgender. That revelation brought a storm of controversy. This was the early 1980s, and the public wasn't ready to have open conversations about gender identity. People speculated, rumors flew, and through it all, Teddy said nothing. He never confirmed or denied anything. He never explained the relationship or what really happened that night. That silence added to the mystery. Fans wanted answers, but Teddy stayed guarded. And from that point on, questions about his personal life would always hang in the air. That night didn't just change his body, it forced Teddy to hide parts of his truth forever. But was that the dark secret he took to his grave? After the accident, Teddy faced a new kind of battle, one that wasn't about fame or money, but survival. He spent months in rehab learning how to live in a wheelchair. The physical pain was constant, but the emotional weight was heavier. He tried to keep moving forward. He returned to music, even performed again, but things were never the same. Relationships got complicated, there were public breakups, legal issues, and family drama. At one point, his relationship with his children and even his mother became strained. He had lawsuits over royalties, over management, and over his estate. The spotlight that once brought him joy now added pressure and pain. Despite it all, Teddy kept making music. He used it as therapy. Songs like Joy and Truly Blessed reflected his attempt to find peace. But the man behind the voice remained private. He never spoke openly about the accident, Tanika, or the rumors that continued to follow him. There were whispers about his sexuality, his identity, and the people he surrounded himself with. But Teddy never gave the world a full answer. He chose silence. Whether that was about protecting his image, his family, or his personal peace, we may never know. And still, through all the whispers, all the questions, Teddy stayed silent.
I tried to reach out to him right after the accident. I went to the hospital where he was, and there was a woman there, and she said, well, you're not going to see him before his son does. and she caused this big scene, and I just left.
Teddy Pendergrass never told his full story, and that silence has kept people guessing for decades. The world made its own assumptions, especially after the car accident and the identity of the woman who was with him. Some believed he was hiding his sexuality, others thought he carried shame, but maybe it was deeper than that. Teddy once said, "I never really got a chance to tell my side of things." That one sentence reveals a lot. It wasn't just about scandal. It was about feeling unheard, feeling misunderstood. Even after all the fame, the platinum records, and sold-out shows, he still felt voiceless in the areas that mattered most. There could be many reasons why Teddy stayed silent. Maybe he was trying to protect his family. His mother, Ida, had raised him in a strict religious home. The church was where he learned to sing and where his foundation was built. He might have feared what speaking out would do to her or to his kids. Or maybe it was fear of judgment. The 80s weren't a time when people were open-minded about gender identity or sexuality, especially not in the music industry where image meant everything. Teddy had built his brand on being a ladies' man. What would fans have thought? What would the industry have done? But there's also another possibility. Maybe the pain ran so deep he didn't want to reopen those wounds. That crash didn't just change his body, it took away the life he knew, his freedom, his identity, his control. Speaking on it might have meant reliving it all, and that could have been too much. He wasn't trying to deceive the world, he was trying to survive in it. He left us wondering not because he wanted to deceive, but maybe because he never got the safe space to heal. Even though Teddy took some truths with him, what he left behind still echoes loud. His music wasn't just popular, it moved people. Songs like Close the Door, Love TKO, and Turn Off the Lights became soundtracks to people's lives. His voice could melt hearts, heal wounds, and bring comfort in the darkest moments. Teddy's journey wasn't smooth. It was filled with highs and lows, betrayal and love, power and pain. But that's what makes his story real. He wasn't perfect, he was human, and his humanity made the music feel even more honest. He gave everything to the world, his voice, his soul, his energy, but there was one part he held close, a part he never shared. Not because he didn't care, but because maybe the world just wasn't ready to receive it. Well, what do you guys think about Teddy? Share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe to this channel for more videos.